All right, so basically, I didn't do it for the last episode, but I needed to say that for every episode, like with the brand and everything, we're always here to like promote small businesses, black businesses, just people who need help. So if you saw in the last one, the tracksuit I was wearing is from a brand called No Jeans Club, which is a small brand based in London, black-owned brand. We love to see it. So they're going to be in the description below. And also, the hoodie I'm wearing today is from 5 Star Living. They're also going to be in the description below. So as always, support businesses, support small businesses, and let's help them grow. Now, today, I've got a couple guests with me, and we're going to be talking on and touching on mental health. The reason why I'm kind of like introducing it like this, because I just want to put a disclaimer or just say out there to anybody who's listening and watching that, you know, mental health is very broad. So a lot of what you're going to hear today is going to be on a lot of people's experiences, what they've seen, what they've known, what they've been through. I hope it doesn't trigger anybody. I hope it sparks conversation. But also, if you feel like there's anything that maybe you don't agree with what we're saying or anything, I do encourage you to just do your research the same way that before this and after this, we've been doing our own research. And yeah, let's get into it, and hopefully we can kind of answer some questions that people have been asking. So firstly, I'm just going to ask everybody to introduce themselves quickly, and I'll go from, I don't know if I introduced myself last time, but you guys should know who I am, but I'll go from my left.
So my name's Denzel.
Yeah. Lovely.
What do you want me to say?
Let's go. What you need the name.
My name's Brighton.
Hi, and I'm Bethany.
Cool. Now, we're going to just kind of get into it. So I feel like with mental health, like the first question I can actually ask, like kind of each of you and myself anyway, it's kind of like, how are you guys? Like mentally, like how are you? If anyone wants to start.
What, like right now?
Yeah, like, do you know what it is?
I don't know, I'm in a weird place really, like, I wouldn't say nothing's wrong, but I'm kind of just like tired. Like, obviously we're in a pandemic.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm in third year. I've got to do my dissertation. There's loads of stuff I've got to handle on the side as well, like with my own stuff. Like, you got to, obviously there's that question of what you can do after uni. So me personally, I'm going to do a master's. So I've got an offer. I know what I need to do to get into my master's and everything. But then it's a thing of, okay, like, you have a plan in your head, but then it's getting there still. Because me personally, I plan everything in advance. So I know that I have a dissertation to do and whatever. But the problem is, because of the pandemic, the way that they've set up third year now, it's so congested. So I've got a 10,000 word dissertation due in March. I've got 3 pieces of coursework that are all 2,000 words, and all 3 pieces of coursework are due on like the 3rd of December. And it's just like a lot of pressure of like, you get an email saying, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to speak to this person. And it's like, there's too much to do and not enough time. But then there's nothing you can actually do because everyone else has to do the same thing because of the pandemic.
Alright, cool. Brian?
I think I'm getting better, you know?
Yeah.
Compared to the first lockdown.
Yeah.
I think in the first lockdown I was just in a weird place. Like friends and family wise. I think we was getting into a lot of arguments and disagreements, and you see, cause like you're just caged up 24/7 doing that, and you might eat and just walk to Tesco because there's nothing else to do. Yeah, so a lot of family secrets came out, you know. And then it just put me in a mad space. I didn't want to talk to no one. I was just in my own bubble. And obviously I'm a football coach as well, so that all locked off. We couldn't do nothing, so I wasn't making no money. So I tried to do like a little Tesco warehouse job. They're only giving out like 1 month contracts. What's that gonna do when you got families and kids and all that? That's not really gonna do anything. But so I started up my own business.
Okay.
So it's like a removal company.
Okay, cool.
So I started up from the first lockdown. Obviously I'm still doing it now. But I think because of the second lockdown, I think people are kind of like, should I spend? Should I not spend? How long is the lockdown going to be? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so I'm getting better. And I started going to church, and then obviously the lockdown happened. So there's nothing else I can do right now. But just chill out.
Beth?
Again, it's a bit of a weird place for me right now. So over lockdown, I got a lot better in terms of my mental health, like a lot better. I had the time to spend with my horses because I'm a horse person, which makes me happy. I was able to spend a lot of time with my family, which I love. I was working out all the time. Like I was running every morning. I was working out 2 hours every day. I got into a really good place. And then coming back to uni, I've actually been in one of the worst places of depression I've ever been in. In terms of like my self-esteem, like I've been just going through really bad self-esteem issues, which I think a lot of girls go through. In terms of like, I even had to delete Instagram for a bit because I'd be looking at all these Instagram models like, wow, they're so beautiful. They've got such amazing bodies and skin and all the rest of it. And I would just be constantly comparing myself then, even like when I was around my friends, I've been constantly comparing myself to them because, say, I look at my friends and I'm like, wow, they're beautiful women. So yeah, in terms of my depression at the moment, I would probably say has been revolved around my self-esteem and the way I view myself. But again, I've been just coming closer to God in this time because I'm also a Christian, and trying to kind of find out what makes like a beautiful heart to God and to love myself for like who I am, all the flaws there as well. But it's been a bit of a low point, but we'll get there by God's grace.
Amen. Now, obviously, everyone's kind of me. By the way, I'm fine. Like, I'm fine, but it's like, lockdown has been mad in terms of like me mentally. I said it before, like my year's kind of been in two halves. For like the start of the year, like I have my brand and I took a break from that as well. I just felt like I wasn't fully like, I didn't feel like I was fully there with what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to inspire and motivate. And I wanted to do it for this clothing brand and this YouTuber. Everything was just jumping on my back. And it was just like a long first half of the year. My birthday came and I had like a really big reflection because I just turned 20. And it's a thing where it's like, I did a video on it, but I had a twin at birth and my twin died at birth. So for me, it was like every kind of birthday that comes through, it's not like a terrible day for me, but maybe like an hour, 2 hours, I'm just thinking like, raw, like I'm supposed to be celebrating this with someone else. And I don't really say that out loud, but hey, we're here now. But the first half of like quarantine of this year was like, it was tough, but I kind of like in late June, early July, and I kind of just picked myself up. I was like, you know what, like I'm not like no quitter, no nothing like that in it. And that was just a battle I had with myself. And same thing with you. I got a job at Royal Mail doing warehousing in it, but even that was dead, and I just didn't want to do it. Like the money was good, but I just didn't want to do it. So from
how long did you do it for?
Bro, I did it for like a month. I'll be so honest.
Yeah,
like, I'm not a quitter, but like I was doing like the way that like my mental health was. I was I'd go to work. It was a 10 to 6 shift in it. So 10 to 6. I'd get home about maybe 7:30. I'd fall asleep, wake up about maybe 2, 3. Bear in mind, I have to leave my house at 8. So these times I've only got like 5 hours in a day. It's not enough in it. So from the end of like May, I fully went self-employed, like fully. So no money was coming in other than what was already in my pocket. And I said to myself, cool, if I'm going to take this challenge, I'm going to do it like with my head held high. And now coming to like the end of this year, I'm in a position where I just relaunched my brand. It's sold out. My mental health is getting a bit better, and it's nice. It's better now, innit? But I feel like for a lot of people, not only like just us here, I feel like quarantine has touched people in a different way. And I've been seeing like these posts on Instagram and Twitter, people saying, "Right, if you haven't picked up a skill or something during this quarantine, then your year's been a flop." I'm sorry with all of that. I think that's just bullshit. Like if you've survived mentally this year, it's a success regardless.
I can understand what they're saying though, because you got all the time in the world to learn something. Like what are you really doing at home? Do you know what I mean? Like learn how to paint, learn how to, I don't know, walk dogs or something. Do you know what I mean? Like,
but then that's under the assumption that everyone can afford the resources to learn those skills though.
Yeah, but we've all got an iPhone and we've all got YouTube.
I think, do you know what it is?
you know what I mean?
I'm both sides, because obviously me, I learned some stuff during quarantine. I learned like, being in my creative bag, but I get it in terms of like, just like, it's such a tough period to now kind of to now kind of laud anybody who didn't learn somebody as like you failed.
No,
Feels a bit like,
not
yeah.
failed.
I think it's
But that's what I'm saying. It's just like the wording of how it came out.
Yeah.
It was like, that's not really fair on those people.
Yeah.
We
I think it's hard to like get into that headspace because, again, like at the start of lockdown for me, that was a really low point, and now like this kind of lockdown is a low point for me. But the middle bit was great, but it was getting that motivation to be in that headspace because when lockdown hit, I was in a really bad like state of depression again, and you know, it was really my dad that helped me because my dad would motivate me and really give me that time to kind of pick myself up. And then kind of lockdown got good for me with in terms of everything I was doing, like working out and things, spending a lot of time with family, getting closer to God, all the time with my horses. I set up like a business thing while I was back home with my horses as well. So, but at the start, if you had told me that those things were going to happen, that lockdown, I wouldn't believe it because even, you know, when you're so depressed, as a lot of people with depression can relate to, it's so hard to just get out of bed, just to go eat some food for that day. So it's just, I think, about getting into that headspace and finding that motivation, that you've kind of got to remember that people who perhaps suffer from mental health, things like depression, for example, it's a lot harder for them to get into that headspace and to see their self-worth. Like, for me, I have huge problems with my self-confidence. So somebody who's perhaps confident to be able to go and think, oh yeah, I could go and paint and I can share this with other people. Other people might not have that confidence to be able to do it. I mean, like I said, luckily for me, my dad kind of gave me all the confidence I needed. And then I thought, okay, I'm actually quite good at this. I can do this. But some people just don't have that self-motivation and self-confidence with their mental health to be able to just start it just like that.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So I know like it's a tough one, this what I'm gonna ask you. And I'll start with mine, so it tries to make it a bit easier, but obviously everyone's dealt with mental health differently, in whatever way, shape or form. And just for like maybe a bit of reflection and opening up, like a personal experience for you guys. It don't have to be so personal that, you know, we burst into tears, because I know it can be difficult for people, innit? But my one, I'll be quick. I haven't suffered with like depression per se, but toughest time in my life was I kick ball. So we've kicked ball together as well. And this was before getting to uni. Uni wasn't even my plan. Football was, and I was like this close. So I basically had a game, and a scout came to watch me. I was playing a great game, and everything just seemed like it was in my favour. But at this point, I've never been injured in my life. Cool. So gone up for a corner. It's been cleared out. Me and a guy's gone to go challenge for it, and we just had a shoulder to shoulder. Simple thing. And my shoulder came out of place. So I dislocated my shoulder. And for like the first like 5-10 seconds, like I just started walking slowly. Like I didn't really deep what was going on, and I got this shooting pain. So my shoulder out of place, and they've taken me off the pitch. I'm on the side of the pitch, and I am in agony, like bro, like tears, screaming, everything. And for like a brief period, the ambulance took about an hour to get there, innit? So for like a brief period, I just not like blacked out, but I honestly, like, I felt like I just disappeared from the world, fam. Like a football match is loud. You can hear people shout. Bro, I just was deaf to everything. I was just, in my head, I was in like a dark hole. I was gone. Because the scout was there to watch me finally get to, make it. I've been working so long, trying to make my family proud. I've never been injured. These times in the past, I've been playing football, rugby, and everything in the same week. But it's at this point I get injured. So then, I just fell into a dark hole, like a dark hole. And if it wasn't for my family, if it wasn't for my mum especially, like I don't think I would have got out of it. But I wouldn't say it was depression. I would have said at that moment in time, I felt so depressed. Yeah. Like don't chat to me. I don't care if you're my boy. I don't care if you're my coach. I don't care if you're the scout. Just don't chat to me. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to, you get. So that was like probably my most personal experience, to why my mental health kind of dipped.
I think I've had a couple, but I say in the last 2 years, probably the two hardest years for me, probably. Yeah. So in my last year of college, a very close friend of mine got killed, and the whole thing about it was that it was weird because like, it was always on the news and like you couldn't really escape it. And like, I found out in the worst way possible. Like, I found out through Twitter. So I was at lunch in college and just seeing like loads of like, oh, like rest in peace. I'm like, wait, what? So I called my sister now, like, oh, like, did you hear about this? And she's like, yeah, I did. I was thinking, raw. And then when you read into the case now, it's like he died over something stupid, basically. Yeah, like obviously it's knife crime, but it's nothing to do with gangs. Like it's an argument that escalated. So at that point, I was like, right, like, he's actually dead. And for like probably like 2-3 weeks straight, I just couldn't stop crying. I was thinking like, oh, like I hadn't seen him in ages, but he's dead now. Like I can't speak to him anymore or anything. So for me, it was like, obviously I'm in college as well, and like college was hard for me because I did like 3 sciences, and everyone that's done science at A-level knows like chemistry A-level was long.
I don't know why you're doing that to yourself.
Yeah, so obviously I just didn't focus in class anymore. I just kind of felt like I was just like drifting through life. So I didn't really know what to do anymore until eventually I just like, it kind of passed, but it was a way when it passed that if someone brings it up or like if I see his picture, I'd be like, oh yeah, like, I can smile, but at the same time like you'll still be upset.
Yeah.
I
hear that.
I think there's been a couple mad ones, but I'll just stick to the lighter ones. My uncle passing away in the first lockdown.
Okay.
He worked for the hospitals and all of that. Like he was an ambulance driver.
Okay, cool.
So yeah,
big up him as well.
So,
rest his soul. Big up him as well.
So they're saying it's corona, but we're hearing it's a heart attack. Like we don't know.
Yeah.
So it's a weird one because he passed away, and why it's weird for me because when I was born, I had a hole in my heart, innit?
Okay.
So so fast forward, I think there was one time when they was trying to contact my mum to say this is the last time. Should we just pull the plug? Do you know what I mean? Like, should we just end it? My mum and dad was sleeping because obviously they've been in hospital every single day.
Yeah.
So obviously they never answered, but my uncle did answer, and he said, "No, we're come to the hospital now." So he kind of saved my life, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's like, bruh, he's gone. How can I ever
repay him?
Yeah, like we never had the best relationship because obviously family politics and that.
Yeah.
But it's still that thought of, fuck, this is mad. Like, what can, like, I actually can't do nothing. Like, why can't someone call me and say, if you want to save his life? And I would have said, yeah, just take my life, if anything, do you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's a bit mad. But yeah, man, that's one of the most harder ones.
You know that, before we go into you, that's mad as well because, like, you know, sometimes when you just feel like you're in debt to certain people, like, I don't even mean like your brethren, like, I call my mum. If same thing, like, bro, if that was me, and like for everything that like my mum's done for me in my life, same thing, like, bro, take mine instead of hers. Like, when you feel like you're in debt to people like that, and it's like when they passed, like, you can't show to them like how you're trying to repay them in it. But you know, like, big up your uncle, and also, do you know, it's like, I am a firm believer that, you know, he's watching down on you.
Yeah, 100%.
And
100%.
even like for everything that you do in the future, but even now, just this conversation, to be able to speak on your own experiences, he's proud of you in it. So
yeah, 100.
That's what I'll say for you, bro.
100, bro. Love that.
Go on, Beth.
Okay, so mine's like hard because I was discussing this with EK beforehand. Like, I class myself to come from quite a privileged background in terms of a lot of different factors. In terms of even like, see, I'm white, so I've got that white privilege. You know, probably not a good thing, but and in terms of like, I'm from quite a wealthy. I'm from quite a wealthy background. I'm not from London. I've had like the beauty of growing up in the countryside with horses. You know, I've got great family support. So in terms of that, like, mental health kind of just felt like it hit me like a truck because I spent so long trying to figure out like what is actually wrong with like my life, like what was it that was going on that was making me feel this way, because I first experienced it when I was about 16 and I started having panic attacks at school every day, and then it got to the point I was having 8 panic attacks a day. Jesus. And I had to come out of school for a year because
panic attacks like severe, like breathing and hyperventilating?
it feels like you're going to die. For anyone watching that has had a panic attack before, you can relate to me on this. I don't know if you guys have ever had a panic attack, but it's just like your heart is beating so much. You feel like you're having a heart attack. You start sweating loads. You start hyperventilating. I felt really dizzy, like faint. I just didn't feel real. It was like I kind of left my body and I was just seeing myself like about to die. But obviously with a panic attack, it can't kill you, but it feels like something is severely going wrong that you need like help. And it scared me so much. There were so many things I couldn't do. You know, even things like going to the cinema, the thought of that terrified me. And it's so many things I just took for granted that I couldn't do anymore. And I just wanted to be at home because that was my safe place, or I just wanted to be on my horse because that was my safe place. Like school, the thought of going to places with friends, everything like that was just terrifying for me. So yeah, I had panic disorder, which is kind of like a branch of anxiety, which is where you just have sudden panic attacks for what you can't put like a point on what's triggering it. And then that led me into depression because obviously I came out of school and I just felt really useless. I just couldn't do anything anymore. I'd always been a really bright academic kid. It was like I could just see my future ahead of me. And then suddenly that felt taken from me. And that was really difficult. I got into self-harm as well, which is something I don't mind sharing that I still struggle with today. I still struggle with self-harm even after all these years. But it's a way for me that I just emotionally coped with it. It was like if I hurt myself physically, it would release that emotional stress. But yeah, they were all kind of the things that led into like then depression as well, where it's just, you know, hard to get out of bed, hard to motivate yourself. And it just led now, I think, to the problems of like my self-esteem. So feeling really low about myself, having low confidence, low self-esteem, constantly comparing myself to other people, that kind of uncontrolled anxiety. But for me, I think after all these years of trying to dwell on it, it's that kind of idea that I can't escape myself because I've always been so unhappy like with the person I am. The thought of that I can't escape myself, that there's no way to escape you. You can escape everything else. You know, you can walk out of a room if you want to. You can walk out of a situation. You can walk out of a friendship, a relationship, but you can never walk away from yourself. And that feeling of just being stuck in your own mind, like just drowning in your own thoughts is horrible. So like I have gone through periods of time where I've had a lot of suicidal thoughts. Especially in times when my self-harm is bad. I just think, you know, I just don't want to be here anymore because I just don't want to be in like my body. So yeah, for me, like I said, it's hard because you know, of trying to think what caused like the problems with my mental health, because you guys have got like specific things that you perhaps may think have like triggered it. But for me, like I said, I feel like I come from quite a privileged background, but it just shows like you can have everything you want in the world physically and materialistically, but it doesn't mean you're going to be emotionally happy at all. That's kind of my experience on it.
I think that plays on the stigmas as well, because especially when I was younger, I honestly, I thank God for growth, because when I was younger, mental health or people who suffered with like mental health issues was what I saw in movies. So, you know, like mental asylums and people just moving mad and crazy. That's what it was for me, innit? But growing up with my mum and her being an actual mental health nurse, and she's been in the NHS for 21 years. The NHS needs to pattern up, but that's another thing. But she's been with the NHS 21 years, and one like really beautiful story is that when I was young, I remember I came home and I went into my mum's room just to like obviously say hi, mum, I'm home. And there was like a pillow on her bed that it was stitched and it had her name in it. It was stitched in the heart. And I was like, this lady did not take up knitting. So where the hell did that come from? So I've gone downstairs and I was like, Mum, where did that come from? And she was like, the patients at my hospital made it for me. I was like, you mean at the mental hospital you work at? She's like, yeah. And from that point, I just started doing research. I was thinking, okay, they're not what I perceived, because if I can't stitch to save my life or stuff or do it neatly, so for them to do things like that, it's like, it can be the most human person you see. It could be the most celebrated person you see who could be suffering, and mental health doesn't really have a look, but the stigmas that follow it, it's kind of like unfair, because the same thing with you like being, you know, a white woman obviously with everything that's going on, there's more maybe privilege for white people, being in a privileged background. You have both parents.
Yeah.
Having both parents, having that 2-parent household, which doesn't always mean like it's amazing, but you know, having
but you still got it though.
having
it's a bonus.
It's there. Like.
It's like from the outside, maybe more naive people would look at you, be like, you're patterned, like you're good, like you've got the background, you've got your horses, you've got like what you need to make yourself feel good, and then they wouldn't see you and think, she's suffering, but then you know, certain brothers from ends, like you're just expecting man to be suffering from, like even if it's not mental health, like I'm just expecting man to be suffering because it's what I've been around, it's what I've seen, like I've grown up around it, so
that's what you're used to,
it's what I'm used to. So it's like there's certain stigmas that we need to kind of try and cut out, and even that, because I was talking with Beth and Denzel about it as well, the suicide rate is higher in men, 3 times higher.
Yeah, so suicide is the biggest killer of men in the UK under 45.
There you go. And the maddest thing about that, I feel like as a man, obviously I can only speak from my experiences, but I feel like one killer that kind of leads to that and stems from other things is pride. I feel like pride can do a lot of things, even to the point where it's you may be feeling a type of way, but because you're man them and we're not supposed to be showing emotions, you can't now come out and say, you know, like if a man's just feeling down, a man's feeling low,
especially where we're from as well.
Exactly.
It's a dog world.
Exactly. And people will play on your emotions like that, and men are supposed to be seen as big, strong figures we're meant to protect and provide, but it's like we also have emotion, and obviously like we need to know that you can come out and talk about it, because there's nothing wrong with it. The fact that stat is out there saying that it's 3 times higher in men shows you that enough of us aren't speaking about it. And I don't want to talk about men in the black community or men in the white community or whatever. Suicide is suicide. In general. You get it? It's just is killing whoever is killing. So I feel like mental health in men, I feel like we don't talk about it a lot. I feel like we don't discuss how we feel, because even when we kick ball, or even like when we apply for like a job, they'll do CRBs, they'll do DBSs. When we're kicking ball, they're checking are we training well, are we eating well. But like more time, how many people at a job, when you're going for an interview or when you're joining the team, when have they asked you like how your mental health is?
They don't really care about it.
They don't care.
Health. They just want you to do the job.
Exactly. You're there to do a job, fam. And they're not dealing with you.
They don't really care.
So it's like, especially like as a man and with the things that we're in, like it's even so hard, because it's like, cool, say if I want to speak out, who's even giving me the opportunity? And it's like, there's just so many like ebbs and flows, and it's so hard. So that's like, I kind of wanted to touch on what you man thought about like that, and some factors that might contribute to that. I've got some, but I want to hear what you guys have to say.
What with the suicide thing?
Yeah, like in men, and then we'll go on to women as well, because it is still.
I think with the suicide thing, it's just sometimes it's the issue that they have. They can't share it with no one. So it's like, do you know what? To make it easier for everyone, I'll just go. Yeah, that's what I think anyway. Yeah. Because there's been times in the past where I wanted to take my own life as well. Yeah. So it's like, and I think because of the situation, it was a bit techie, and it's like, I think it's better if I leave. Yeah, that's what I think. And that comes with pride as well. Yeah. It can come with pride as well, because it's like, how's this person going to look at me when I say it to them? How's that person going to look at me? And I'm from Tottenham as well. Like, no one got time with no emotions, bro. It's like, yo, are we going to the shop? Are we going to the club? Where are we going? Like, how much times have you actually like just sat there with your boy and just randomly just had a conversation about your mental health? Yeah. You've never, not really, maybe once.
You ask you, are you good? And you'll be like, yeah, I'm alright.
And that's it, bro. And that's it. Like, no one's ever sat you down and said, yo, bro, how you doing today? Yeah, like how's your lockdown been? Like, how's your family? How's this? No one, bro, I'm 28 years old, bro. No one's ever come up to me and said, yo, how you doing? No. Not at all. Except for your mum, obviously.
Yeah, outside family.
Yeah, but no one ever come to you and say, bro, how you feeling today? This is that. Cool. Let's go to church, or let's pray about it. No one's ever come and said that. Not to me anyway.
I think there's a lot of contributing factors, like especially for black men. There's different pressures in it, but I say men in general, you're meant to be the breadwinner. Yeah. You're meant to do this. You're meant to do that. You're meant to provide. You're meant to do this. Like, there's more pressure on men to have everything patterned, to have everything set up. Like, you're not meant to have problems. If you have problems, you're meant to have the answer.
Yeah.
So when you finally get a problem you don't have the answer to, and it's like, like, what am I meant to do now? Because if I don't have the answer to this problem, I'm going to be seen as lesser.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a lot more pressure for people, especially men, to be successful. Like, even from when you're like a little boy, you're told that, like, you can do this, like, you can be anything you want or whatever. Women don't have that same pressure. Like, even probably still now today, even though it's 2020, they're probably still taught to like have more like maternal roles. So they're not told that, you can be a CEO and like you can be this and that and you can go on and do this. Like, it's mostly like from when you're a little boy, you're told like, you're meant to do this. Like, even when I was little, my mum was telling me that, like, she wanted me to be a doctor. Yeah. I didn't want to do that anymore, so I changed roles. I was like, cool, it still makes a lot of money, I enjoy it, I'll do this instead. But even now, she'll be like, like, make sure like you focus on uni or whatever, because if you don't have money, like, no woman will come after you or whatever. Yeah. Even though like it sounds superficial, like, it's the truth of the world we live in. Like, women need money not because to say they're shallow, but that's the way the world's set up, that they don't have the same resources as men to provide for themselves independently the same way men do. So it's expected of you to be the one that sets up your family and makes sure that everything's done. So if you can't have money, then it's like, what makes you a man?
And do you know what's funny with that? Because I'm going to sound like such a mad hypocrite, but what's so funny is that obviously I'm here talking about pride and that, but obviously I've got my mum and I've got my sister. I love them both dearly, innit? And I will be the first person to say like, I need, like, if my mum was to get remarried, or if my sister was to get a boyfriend, she's got one now, but if she was to like get a boyfriend when she was single, I need them to have somebody who's gonna look after them, who's gonna protect them, who's gonna provide for them. You get. So I don't want to. Like, I don't want to sound hypocritical saying, the pressure's on man and we don't deserve that pressure. But here and now saying that I need my mum and my sister to have that.
No, but it's like, you are gonna want that in a man anyway. And it don't always have to be money. It could just be his security, work rate, and you two's conversation, and it just holds you two close. It don't always have to be money. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I was gonna say, because I wanna get your thoughts on this. We had this conversation. I called it the Birkin bag effect.
I was about to
so I feel like
sounds mad already.
I feel like what social media has done in terms of the pressures on men is ridiculous. And there's obviously, we'll go on to females as well, and the pressures on females as well. But in terms of, like I said, the Birkin bag effect, because what you kind of hear girls say, in their music, in terms of like, if he adore you, Dior me, or like this, the hype around Birkin bags and getting it for your girls, and how celebrities glamorize it and whatever. Cool, celebrities got the money to do that. Cool, what being within your means, cool, that's great. But in terms of like the demands that I feel like social media and females put out there on social media, and us men seeing it, maybe some of us will take it as a joke, but certain men are really seeing that, thinking, I need to pattern up, I need to get my bread up,
people are doing overtime at Tesco to get a Birkin.
Exactly, fam.
Trust me, fam. People are going country for 7 months just to get the Birkin for the one girl.
But do they think when they get it, it's going to bring them happiness, and it's going to bring their girl happiness?
Yeah. Wait, man are doing overtime to get a Birkin's like 10 bags.
Bro, man are doing overtime.
Man are doing 10 jobs in a week,
I would much rather in a man like, in like my future husband and things, I'd much rather him have qualities like being loyal and a good work ethic and being family orientated than him buying me a Birkin bag. It just it doesn't make sense to me that that's kind of what you look at a man and you see as like a good quality. And I think it's so much like, I think the big thing that me and EK were like talking about beforehand is music plays a big part, because we're all young, we listen to music all the time, wherever you're going, if you're doing work, you're in the shower, even you're on like public transport, we're always listening to music, and it has a huge influence on what we think. And for me, I personally have started to try and not listen to a lot of female artists like Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B, City Girls, all artists that I really, really liked beforehand. And it's because of the disrespect they put onto men. And I just thought, even though I'm not a man myself, I don't experience those things. I don't want my brother to feel like that. I don't want my dad to feel like that. I've got a lot of male friends. I don't want my male friends to feel that way and to feed into that and have those, like that music influencing my thoughts, because I think society just sets up men as they provide, they make the money, they do this, but I don't see why it can't be a joint effort. Like, there's all these feminists out here, you know, talking about women having equal equal opportunities and being able to provide for themselves. Like, we can, like, females, like, we're strong. Like, I'm intelligent. You know, my plans, obviously I want to get married and things one day, but my plans of how I'm going to make money and everything like that, they're all incorporating myself. I'm not thinking, oh, I need a man to get those goals. So I feel like there needs to be a lot more to women on how to like just a lot more opportunities for women in terms of like maybe starting businesses, things like that, making, you know, being a provider of their own so that they don't project those kind of thoughts on men, and to make women seem more than just a pretty face and a body, because there's so much stigma on that around.
That's a whole. I feel like that's a whole different issue in a way, because I get what you're saying with the feminism point, that like if you're a feminist, like you should want women to be able to like, provide for themselves, whatever. But then when you look at the world we live in now and not what you want it to be ideally, like the point we're at now is like a point of hyper consumerism. So like you go on Instagram, you see like ads like every 2 posts of like this and that. Like you see influencers wearing like the latest Off-White or whatever. But then if you're talking about women providing for themselves, the issue is men are partly to blame, because we've made a world where men are the providers. So the problem there, what I mean by that is, let's say if you look at all like the FTSE 100, all the top companies in the FTSE 100, there's probably like one that has a woman on the board. Probably like most of the leaders at the top companies are men. So we've made that problem for ourselves in terms of we haven't made opportunities to be equal for women to provide. Do you get it? It's a problem we've created for ourselves.
I feel like it's two extremes. It's like with men in society, okay, we see like the way kind of society works, and in terms of like music and Instagram, all of those things, it's like men are the providers, and then women are just the pretty face and the body and everything like that. Whereas it needs to we need to come a bit closer on the spectrum. So I don't think it's to blame anyone specifically or to blame a specific gender, like, oh, men, it's all your fault, women feel like this, or oh, women, it's all your fault, like men feel like this. It's just the way we and we play into it so much. I mean, we all play into it a lot, because
definitely.
That's why I feel like social media is like a big if social media didn't exist, none of this would.
There's so many links.
I think social media it's like a magnifying glass. The problem's already there, but it's just made it more visible.
For anyone hearing it, how many times have you seen somebody put on their snap the hotel room, the flowers on the floor? My man did this for me, or my man did that for me. Bro, I'm a uni student, I'm living in my means. If there's somebody coming to me saying, if I'm talking to somebody, if I like somebody and I'm seeing these posts, whether you believe it or not, you know, adore me, Dior me and all of that, I should have this. You're a uni student. Pattern your I feel like a lot of times social media, like, it pushes you away and you forget about what position you're actually in. That's why I say, like, people don't live in their means, because you've got uni students or girls that are still in college that are talking about adore me, Dior me, I want this for Valentine's, or that. Live within your means.
Do you know what's mad about that? Like when we were in like primary school, remember like on clothes day? Bro, like people would just like if you were wearing like the freshest like white Airs or something, like that was cool then. Like everyone would be like rah, whatever. Now on clothes day, like kids are wearing like Montclair and all kind of stuff, and like they're in like year 9, year 8. Like they start doing fraud early just so they can afford stuff that they've seen.
Now,
bro, like when I was 13, what?
You see, when I was going to school, but I was wearing some Astros,
bro,
jeans, that was lit, boy.
Astros,
bro,
total 90s,
bro. I was patterned,
bro.
And then I went through that stage where, that obviously that you have to look nice for the ladies. Now you got to buy the drip and all that. And then after that, I said, bro, why am I buying all of this? I've spent so much money on designers and this and that. And then, bro, sometimes, bro, I can't even go to Tesco you get me? Like, bro, I can't even buy a meal deal. I'm struggling. Exactly. I said, bro, let me just stick to my Primark, H&M. You get me?
It's a superficial world. That's what I think it all ties into. It's like, in terms of like men, women can look at them very superficially and think, oh, because I used to think this all the time, you know, and even now it's like, oh, it'd be nice to have a man with money. But that was kind of like the top things on the list before. If I thought, oh, what do I want in a boyfriend or husband? It's like money, just like the top thing. And then I feel like we treat men in that way, like, oh yeah, they need to be able to buy me this. I want him to be able to take me, you know, to the Shard for Valentine's. I want this and this. And the same, I feel like men can kind of do it to women. Like, there's a lot of pressure on females for their looks and things.
PS5.
So much fun. Yeah.
You gotta work for that PS5. You gotta work for that.
Twerking for the PS5.
I lie, we see man twerking for it and everything. Trust me.
But yeah, I feel like it's just very superficial. Nobody really looks at a person's actual qualities or their heart, or like, obviously you want someone good looking, and you don't want someone who's just jobless as well. It's the balance. But I feel like in this world we just take it to that superficial, materialistic extreme. That's, in the end, it's never gonna lead to any sort of happiness. If you're just with a guy because he's rich, you're probably gonna end up getting divorced at some point.
and you know, it's also not like fully satisfying as well. Like, I feel like you're doing this to please and impress people, but it doesn't please and impress you. And it's like, it's just, I feel like a lot of people that like leading back to like mental health and like the mental stress it puts on you, like, people see this money and cool, it's their thing, cool, it's my turn, I need to start getting this bag up the ladder. But what's your bag? Because you know, everyone wants bread. Like, listen, by all means get your bread up in it. But it seems like for certain people who want bread, like, it's never enough. And I feel like that mentality of it's never enough in terms of making your money is good, like, you know, increasing your funds, being more like financially stable and comfortable for yourself. But in terms of getting your bread and getting this bread and getting that bread to keep up with the image, I feel like, again, like, mentally it can be very damaging on you. Because
you have to ask yourself, why do you want that money?
Do you know what it is? Like, I don't want to draw her out, but I have like a very close person to me, and I always get onto her because she's an influencer, but she always watches other influencers and how this influencer has more followers than her now, that influencer has more followers than her now, and it's like, now her motivation can be seen as either, okay, are you now influencing because that's what you want to do and you're trying to push your profile and help people, or you're now trying to war this girl and beat what she's getting. So it's like, it's the same thing, like if you're trying to get money up to be more stable, you know, put your family in a better situation, cool. But now if you're just trying to get your money up so you can beat my man to get in that drip, like, that's mentally draining, fam.
Yeah, but I think that's their motivation, isn't it?
But
when you get it's a cycle. I know, it will never be enough.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But you see, like, your friend, like, that might be her motivation to do better.
But that, because it's, like I said, I don't want to put, like,
obviously not. Yeah.
But it's like, it was even a point for her where she was just thinking of quitting Instagram. Because when she started, she was above this girl. Let's say she was at 10k, this girl was at 2k. Now this girl's at whatever k. And
more than her.
Do you know the maddest thing? It's not even like this girl's on like 15, she's on 16. This girl's on like 17 and she's on 16. Like, it's a k away. So it's like, and you know, she was thinking, maybe I shouldn't do this anymore. Like, I don't want to post anymore. And I'm just thinking, like, my thing with like influencers and motivation and stuff, is that it creates a very toxic cycle if you keep watching the next person trying to beat them. Because it's like, say I look up to you in it, and cool, I look up to you and I want to be like you, so now I'm trying to do what you do instead of doing myself. But the next man behind me is actually looking up to me, so now I'm not being myself for him to actually. No,
like, you're gonna be following me, and
it's an endless
he's basically cycle. Following me anyway, because you're watching me.
In turn, you could even be now following someone else. So I'm now getting influenced by you, but more time I might be getting influenced by next man. You're influenced by. So it's like a mad cycle.
But you see why I say motivation as well? Because remember, like, when we first started out playing football, we always looked at who, the Messi, the Ronaldos. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you're like, bro, I want to be better than this guy. So you start to read up on him, like what food was he eating, what was he training, whatever, and then you will start doing all of that. So it's not more so like you're copying him.
I hear that. I hear that as well.
Yeah, taking inspiration.
Yeah, I hear that.
I think that comparison can be toxic, because even if you look at it in terms of like mental health, like, again, with mental health, everyone tries to put everyone into a box or a category or their experiences like that. But you can't, because we're all individuals. And even like, if you look at, so even if you look at me compared to you guys, there's so many like differences you can see there already that would mean our whole life experiences are completely different. Like, you know, you guys are men, I'm a woman, so we have different experiences. You guys are black, I'm white, so we have different experiences. You guys are from London, I'm from the countryside, we have different experiences. You can't say the way I view life is the same how you guys view life. And then even if you took me out of the bracket and then looked at you guys as individuals, even though you're all from London, you're all black males, there's going to be so many differences, even more different subcategories. So like I feel like in terms of that stuff with comparing yourself to people and mental health, everyone tries to make themselves the same person, but you can never do that, because we're all individuals, we all have different outlooks on lives, we've all had completely different experiences, just due to who we are, things we can't even control ourselves. So I think that's kind of like something important to remember.
There's beauty in individualism. Remember that.
Always,
honestly. So let me ask you guys, because mental health again is like, it's such a broad topic.
Yeah, it is.
And we can always go on like the negatives. And some of us might be dealing with it now, some of us might be doing well. But I want to ask you, what's your coping mechanisms, or what were your coping mechanisms? For me, like I said, I spoke to my mum yesterday before doing this video, and I actually fully deeped like my coping mechanism. And I don't want to say I don't want to like go and throw God at people in it. No. And I don't want to say it's God, but it's God in my way, in terms of like, so when I was talking about like my injury, so I have two things that I do. No, one thing that I do, but in two ways. So my coping mechanism is I always look back. Like I look back at where I was and where I am now in it. Now the reason I say that it's my coping mechanism is because dislocated my shoulder 3 times in 2018, in June, in September, in November. Doctors, of course, are telling me, like, you need to stop playing football. You're going to need surgery. You're going to be out for this amount of time, that amount of time. And me and you that kickball, bro, like, when I dislocated my shoulder in November, they said 4 months out. God, like, football is in itself for me a coping mechanism, innit? Yeah, 100%. So you're telling me 4 months out from this it's so long, fam.
That's a long
cool
time, but even missing 1 day is long.
Exactly. Like from the first day, like, cool. But then I always look back, because I went from, just starting playing football when I was a kid, dislocating my shoulder for the first time 3 times in 5 months. Like, that's just ridiculous. And then the next year I've gone to Poland to play football. I've gone Sweden to play football. Sweden have asked me to come back. I've joined a semi-pro team here, like, just to get my fitness back up. And when COVID, dies down by God's grace and things open up, I can go back to Sweden. Bro, if I'm sitting there, when I just get my shoulder off, I'm not going to be thinking, right, I'm going to be, next year I'm going international to play football. No. I'm thinking, nah, bun this. Even the same thing with my brand. Like, this is exactly why I say it's God for me, innit? Because when if you ask me from 2016 and early 2017 what my dream was, it was football. It wasn't business, it wasn't YouTube, it wasn't none of that, it was football. Yeah. When I always say how my brand started. When my brand started, I witnessed a stabbing. That's how the brand started itself, in it. Okay. That's when it became something. So another thing, my coping mechanism, why I look back, is because when I look back, it was nothing, was never a dream, never a thought, never an afterthought. Now I've started a business, I won an award for it, I've been able to motivate and inspire people, and I've been able to start a platform with it. This is why, that's my coping mechanism. I always think, like, when things are tough, look at where I was. So if I now strive to that strength that I did back then, now look at where I can be. Because now my brand started in 2017, 2020, like I said, I've sold out, we thank God, and I'm doing better in football. Who knows what I could be doing in 2025? And my whole theory is that, you'll never know what you can become if you stop. So I just don't stop. I always look back at where I've been, and it encourages me of where I can go. So that's kind of how I deal with, like, whenever I'm, like, in a way in my head.
I don't know. I think if we're talking coping mechanisms, I'd definitely say music for me. Yeah. So obviously, you already know I do music production. Yeah. So I started probably when I was like 15, 16, and I just like kept doing it like every day. I remember there was a time, the first time I ever got Logic, I didn't pay for it, just downloaded it off the internet. Sister bought me a keyboard. Yeah, don't worry about that. But yeah, I remember the first beat I ever made took me 8 hours. Okay. Ooh. Yeah, that's a long time when I deep it now, because I can make a beat now in like 45 minutes. But the first time I done it took me 8 hours, and I didn't eat nothing that day. Like, I sat down at that desk.
Bro, you know what, 8 hours?
Yeah, I sat down at the desk and I was watching bare YouTube videos. I was listening to like Kanye West's albums. I was looking at Jay-Z's albums and stuff. I was just listening to loads of music. And I was like, I really want to learn this. Until I realised I got into like 2 a.m. and I was like, right, I haven't eaten. So even now, like if something happens, music production is for me is like it's kind of like a form of escapism.
Yeah.
Like the hardest point in my life, I made a whole project out of it. Like I made, I think, a 4 or 5 track EP from it, which is still like locked away on my computer. I might release it one day, it might not, but for me that was very cathartic.
That's cold.
To be able to like sit down and translate how I feel into music. And by the time I was done with it and I can look back on it and listen to it, every time I play each track, I can remember exactly how I felt. But now that I don't feel that way anymore, it's a release. So I'd say definitely for me, music. But at the same time, I think the way I've been brought up, like my mind's like a brick wall almost. So if something happens, like I can process it and not feel too much towards it at the time. In my mind, it's like I have to keep moving, like I have to keep going. Like the stuff, like the world doesn't stop. Like no matter what happens to you, like everything's still going on. So it's that thought of I can't get left behind. Like whatever I've decided that I need to do, I need to finish that. So I guess that's it for me, really.
I've had a couple. I had a couple. The first one's music. Because I write music and I shoot. So I think that was that was good because I can just shout and scream at a mic for 2 hours. And then I just come back and I'm alright again. And I just write what I'm feeling at the time, man. I write what I'm feeling at the time, and then I can just express it on the piece of paper or on the iPad or whatever I'm using at the time. And then I took a weird turn and I thought alcohol was a coping, you know what I mean? So I'll wake up, I won't even brush my teeth. I'm on it. Do you know what I mean? I'm on it. I'll have my shower, whatever. I'm on the roads. I might have like a little Magnum, and then I'll get into the stronger stuff a little later. I was doing that, and then I think now I'm getting closer to God. Like I was going church. I was going to church, but it was like I wasn't going for me. I was going for my mum. And you see these African parents, if you're not in church on Sunday, you might as well sleep on the roads because it's long.
If you're not in church on Sunday, you're in church on Sunday. You're there. You're there.
So I started going for myself now. So it's like I don't go to my mum's church no more because I know if I go with her, that it means I'm going for her, innit? So now I go to my own church. I sit down, I listen to what's going on. It's just more calmer for me. It's more calming for me. And I think I'm at the age where I don't think the drink will help. So I just listen to the word, man.
Amen.
And I'm trying to do some gospel songs now. So. I'm trying to think, but
I hear that.
It's coming.
I hear that. That's cold. That's cold. Go ahead, man.
I think first and foremost, like God, that's the most important thing. Like for me, like so when I first went through it, like when I was about 16 and mental health really hit me, the first things I went to was instead of God was spiritualism. So I don't know if anyone knows stuff on this.
I kind of know.
But like, I was very into Buddhist meditation. I went to meditation classes. Me and my dad would go to gong baths together. Have you heard of gong baths? So it's not an actual bath, by the way. But it's like, you know, the big gongs, they're kind of like music cymbals.
They hit it with that thing.
So a guy's in there doing that, and then it sends you into this like hypnosis. And then I started doing I got into like crystal healing and all of that, but none of it like brought me anything. And straight after that, I turned to some really bad things. Like I was a very, very innocent kid through my teen years. And then when I got to like 17, it just, went really south, to be honest. I started trying to look for happiness in men and sex, definitely. I thought that, you know, that if I would just sleep with this many guys or this guy or that guy, then that would bring me some sort of like healing or
pleasure,
satisfaction. And it didn't. It just made it a lot worse. It made me feel a lot more like worthless, because then if you set yourself out like that, then men just see you just like as an object to use. And that's what happened to me a lot. Men would just like hear about like maybe my reputation or something, be like, oh, that girl's easy or something. And you know, I'm so much more than that. I'm not just a random whore, like, I've got so much to me. And so that brought me a lot of damage. And medication was another thing. So I'm still on medication. But I think it was just turning away from anything that was bringing me that temporary satisfaction, whether it was the spiritualism for me or drugs or sex, and turning to God, because that for me gave me like more long-term satisfaction. It's not to say that because I go to church now and like I believe in God that I'm healed. Like church, I feel like it's a hospital, really. Yeah. It's where the broken people go. I'm sure, like you said, you've been going to church and things, but and things have been getting better, but you don't feel fully like fixed or healed now. Like I definitely don't.
It's better than where you started.
It's a long road.
But yeah, it's a long process, and it's that patience. Whereas I think you think, oh, like sex or drugs, like you can get it instantly, just like that. You can get it easily. It's easily accessible, and it will give you happiness just like that. But the happiness will go away just like that as well. Whereas God brings you that kind of stable, long-term happiness and satisfaction. And then for me, like as well, like alongside, like you guys got your music, like I love my music too, but for me, my horses, like that was a big escape. I feel like sport, it's so good and healthy for you because it's physically good, but it's got a lot of like emotional and mental benefits. So yeah.
Do you know what's mad with that as well? Because I feel like some people don't deep it, because I feel like it's very easy for some people to like diagnose themselves and say that they have anxiety or depression or stuff, but like you could just be out of your boys. Like let's just say like across maybe 3 months you've been out with your friends once a week, and you could just be out with your boys. You're just seeing like the way that man them are maybe drinking alcohol maybe a bit too much, or man them are taking drugs a bit too much, or the way that they talk about girls and the way they're with girls is a bit more than you used to. And I'm not saying like it's for everybody, but sometimes people don't deep it because it's like you could be suffering, but you just don't know, or you just don't feel it, and you're turning to these things straight away because you're just trying to get that high. You're trying to feel good, like the same way, like I said, I spoke to my mum, the same way like alcohol can be seen as an antidepressant, same way drugs can be seen as an antidepressant. But it's like when I think I said it to you before, in terms of like when they give you medication, and you know that medication can pattern one thing, but it can be so damaging for something else. Like for me, like when I dislocated my shoulder, they put me on cocodamol to like help with the pain. Like cocodamol was very strong, and for me, like the injury itself already made me feel bad, but the cocodamol I felt shit. Like I just felt empty. Like I didn't want to talk to nobody. And I felt like drowsy and just away from things. Like I just literally, like if my mum was here, she'd tell you like I was basically just a shell. Like driving home in the car was just a shell. And thank God, like for her being a nurse and that, I came off of the cocodamol in like 2 days, because it just like, cool, if I'm gonna have to go through the injury, I'm going through it, but there's no way I'm letting something mentally play with me like that. Physically, cool, you're trying to make my shoulder feel better, but mentally I was not there. So it's like people run for these things for these temporary happiness and high, but it just becomes more damaging, like the alcohols and the drugs and the sex. And I think it's great. Obviously, like I said, I'm not trying to push God on people, but I feel like religion is a great outlet for things. But one thing I said to my mum as well is that I personally, I don't want to sound wrong with this, but I feel like going to God with your struggles is amazing. You know, he's always there for you. So going to him with your struggles is amazing, but it's a thing that we just have to keep it consistent. I was saying it to my mum, I was like, you know, some people go to God and they ask for healing or they ask for money and whatever, and let's say I go to God and I ask for 10 mil and he gives it to me tomorrow. Do I now leave him or do I stay? And I just feel like a lot of people, that's why I don't want to throw God at people like that. But it's a thing where if you go there, just be consistent. Like if you're watching and you suffer, be consistent. Don't only go, don't even only go on don't go on just your bad days. Don't go on your good days. Just be there. And just, even if it's, I don't want to like turn this into a whole God speak, but you know, it's not every day. Like you have, like, of course, like if you can pray every day, it'd be great. But even just like, bro, like my sister and my mum helped me like get into God properly, and it was more of like a friendship. Like when I really deep that, you know, when he says like, we're in the image of him, that's everybody. You've got comedians. So in my head, I'm thinking, all right, cool, maybe God's a joke man as well. Like God's funny, so I can bust 1-2 bands with him. But when I wake up in the morning, instead of me saying, okay, in Jesus' name, I'm like, oh, good morning, God, you good? Like it can actually be a conversation. You get,
and I feel like it can, because people think you're this guy that brings the Bible everywhere you go, like
carrying it,
backpacking
that.
You need to do some kind of fancy prayer to
Yeah,
be able
you
to
don't-
unlock God and
you
talk
don't
to him.
have
Like, you need to
to.
light some candles or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Like
All you gotta do
Iggy
is just have a
said,
conversation like what we're
conversation.
having,
Like literally like this.
and he would listen.
Yeah.
He would listen. And if you are trying to get rich or something, he might give it to you there and then,
Yeah.
or he might make you work for it
Yeah.
to get it. But when you're working for it, it doesn't mean that he's not looking at you and he doesn't care. It just means that he wants you to fight for it. So when you do get it, you can hold on to it with both hands, and you stick with him.
And you know, with that as well, one thing I think is incredible. I deep this kind of myself. I feel like maybe sometimes you have to be very literal with God. He knows your heart and he knows what you want or what you talk about. But I feel like sometimes you have to be very literal, because I feel like I can make a prayer today saying, God, I want riches. Now, the thing is that
Riches and what?
exactly.
Yeah.
See, that could be financial, because bro, I will say no cap. Yeah, there was one time I remember I made a prayer. Like, I was broke in it, but it wasn't like broke. I don't know where I was trying to go, whatever. But I just didn't have money at the time, and I didn't really like ask my mum for money at that time. And I made a prayer to God. And in my head, I was thinking like, yeah, tomorrow I'm gonna go to the cash point. I'm gonna see peas in that account. So I've gone. There's nothing there, fam. And maybe like a week or two later, I got invited for a trial for a football team. Now, it might seem far-fetched to people, but just in a way that I deeped it is that I feel like when you pray to God for something, he gives it to you, but in a way that sometimes you don't deep
God
it.
knows what you need.
Because
He'll give you what you
It's
need,
not about
not what you want.
Exactly. Like certain people might pray for riches, and you're expecting money, but that can just be like, honestly, it can be things like rich mental health, like a good family life, like just patterning like your situations. I feel like people they sometimes you have to be so literal, because he will give you what you need without you thinking it, but certain people won't see it. But I feel like sometimes just have to open your eyes to that as well. But I think that is a very good coping mechanism. I think God is the key coping mechanism. But the kind of maybe one of the last points I want to touch on is I was having a conversation with Beth, and we were talking about the police screening. If you can explain that.
So basically, I won't name names, but so I've got a friend of mine, and her sister over the summer wanted to join the London Metropolitan Police, and she was getting through, doing well, and then they suddenly declined her going into the police force just on the basis that she takes antidepressants. So I don't know a lot on this subject. That's just through like a friend's experience, but
So we did some research like before this, but we couldn't like find like proper articles on it. But just with that, I feel like it does open up the conversation towards certain jobs kind of discriminating towards mental health.
I kind of understand.
I get certain jobs why they would, like, obviously, but this is what I was gonna say, because we kick ball as well. I get why for certain jobs, maybe someone who might be like deemed mentally unstable may not get a job for what the role requires. But I feel like there's a way you can do it, and I feel like there's some support maybe companies should offer. Because remember that the baller from, I think it was United or City,
Jeremy Weston,
that committed suicide.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, football's a job, and it's like he's a young boy. He's been released and he couldn't cope with it from what the articles have said, and he couldn't cope with it. So it's like I feel like there's a lot more that companies can do. I understand like if the job role can't take it, cool, but I feel like maybe there's not enough care in terms of the support that certain job roles can have.
Yeah, I mean, you're a baller, innit?
Yeah,
you guys are meant to have the PFA to protect you, isn't it?
Yeah, like I'm a footballer, and like I said with you, when we kick ball, not one coach has asked me, how are you, like mentally, how are you?
No, not mental health.
So it's like, I feel like certain jobs can do more to support
but
that.
I feel like in football anyway, I think how they dealt with him, but you could look at it two ways, innit? The first way is like they deal with 1 million kids a week, they don't really care, innit? Well, but and then you could look at it like they kind of done him dirty, because he was young. How old was he?
Like 17.
Yeah. So the way you can look at it, like they should have done like an aftercare thing for all of their release players.
Exactly.
Because I think when you're 17, that's a scholar.
Yeah, your scholar.
So you see, like the scholar players, they should get like therapy.
Yeah.
Like when they get released or if they're even still in the team. Because don't get twisted, like you might still be a scholar and you're playing every week scoring goals, but you might go home and cry every day.
Yeah, facts.
It's so fucked.
The outside looks so good.
Yeah,
you never know.
Yeah, bro. And you'll see these players like they bang goals every week. They're the best, and you're like, this guy's gonna be pro. And then you just see him one day. He's down the road like, Ross, what happened? He just goes, bro, it was a mad thing. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's like something happened in his journey where he said, I'm just gonna stop this.
I feel like maybe having like that access to therapy, because I forgot to say before on the coping mechanism thing, but like I feel like therapy, so I've been through therapy myself. I've been through something called CBT, which is cognitive behavioural therapy, which is a very common therapy used for people suffering with anxiety and depression. But in terms of that, like I just feel like it should be more accessible, because for me it was really hard to get into that therapy. So at first I was put through CAMS, which is like the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services, which is really hard to get into, and the same even with the adult one on the NHS. It's really hard, and like I said, luckily I'm from a privileged background that my parents could afford to pay for private therapy for me. But there's a lot of kids that perhaps aren't able to have private therapy, or you can't afford private therapy for yourself, or you don't, the way society does things, you don't base your mental health as the most important thing. You base your job and your physical health and all the other things as priorities to spend money on. So I feel like having that access to therapy, and in terms of like football for you guys, like perhaps like the clubs, you know, using some of their money and expenses on perhaps having therapists to come talk to the players. Because I think the thing with therapy as well, what's good about CBT is I'm not a big fan of counselling personally. Some people might like it, might work for them, because I don't find, I like sitting down and talking about it in terms of raising awareness like now, but sitting and talking about my problems doesn't really help me. It gets me to express how I feel and it gets it out there, but then it's like, okay, what am I doing from here to make it better?
They're not giving you a solution. What's the point?
Therapy really targeted. It was like, it builds on goals and it builds on change. CBT works on changing your mindset. So you take a negative thought and you turn it kind of like into a positive one. So like any sort of anxious thoughts you're feeling, it's like, say you're thinking like with football, for example, oh, I'm really bad at it. I should just stop doing it. I'm no good at it. It's like, okay, you break down that thought. It's like, but why do you feel that way? Has anyone told you this? Is there any indications of something happening? And it's about changing like your mindset, and I feel like that would be really important to have access to, because there isn't really the access to it in my experience. It was just my privilege that allowed me to get it.
It's true, because I'm trying to get into it myself. They told me 9 months I gotta wait.
9 months.
I swear to God. That's what I'm saying. They told me, because obviously I have to do it through the police, innit? So they called me. They said that they've got one here for me. I said, so when do I start? 9 months. I said,
and so much can happen in 9 months.
Yeah,
9 months.
In a day,
So,
9 months.
Yeah, so what if I just, I don't know.
Lose it one day or something.
Yeah. So it's like, they're saying 9 months. Cool, I understand, but it's like, what do I do?
While I'm waiting those 9 months.
From what I know as well, like there is a therapy network for specifically black people in the UK that I know of. I think it's the Black African and Asian Therapy Network. So if you Google BAATN.org,
all links that from anyone,
I'll
put
it in the comments or the description. But yeah, that's a good network for specifically black people, because when it comes to mental health issues and access to therapy, I think it's disproportionate in terms of access specifically. So obviously, like, we're from the ends in it, like we've seen loads of stuff, but then we don't have that access to therapy the same way Beth would. Like she was obviously lucky that her parents could pay for private therapy, but then like them from ends that we can't afford to pay £50 per session or something mad like that, or wait 9 months. Like, so
how much? Do you know how much? It is?
I'm trying to think back, because this was when I went through CBT when I was about 17, 18. I'm 21 now, so I think it was about £30 per session for my CBT privately.
For how many hours though?
And for me, I had CBT for about a year, and I was having it about twice a week.
So £30 per session.
Yeah, £30 per session.
And
so
for a year.
My parents are spending about £60 a week on therapy for me.
That's about $240 a month.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's
Is that
a
for
lot
like
of
an hour
money.
or like 2 hours?
Yeah, it was like for about an hour, but we would kind of overrun if there was problems. Like, I was really lucky that I came across a really great therapist, like amazing woman who really helped me a lot. But I just feel like the NHS, there isn't the resources as much. I did have some CBT therapy in CAMS. I managed to get into it, and I just felt like the way I was treated was really not great. It was almost like they were saying that you would need to have a gun up to your head to meet this criteria or that criteria, and that makes
that's the way it is right now. Yeah.
I think that's how it is.
And it was like, what do you want me to do? Come in here and threaten to kill myself? You know, it's like it's pushing me to feel that way. And a lot of the times they were just, GPs have been awful with me. Like, I've admitted to a GP before that I felt suicidal and that I couldn't guarantee my safety for the next week, and they've just said, well, what do you want me to do? Jesus, like, everyone's feeling this way, it's a pandemic, you know, COVID's going on, like, just toughen up and things. The amount of times you're told to just toughen up.
Yeah, the NHS is absolute shit right now.
NHS is terrible.
You see, because it's free, I think that's why they're taking it like, bro, just go private or something.
Do you know what it is? It's not even their fault.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like, obviously the health secretary, I think it's Matt Hancock at the moment, but then the head of the NHS is, what's his name again? I've forgotten his name now, but for like the last 10 years since we've had like conservative rulership, they've stripped, I think, about £3 billion from the NHS. So that 3 billion equates to like mental health services, certain wards and hospitals. Like, it's mad. Like, the more money they remove, the less efficient they get. So like, even like, I've had friends that have tried to like get therapy from the NHS, and they've just been told that they either have to wait a year to apply again, or they'll get in, and in like your case, they'll say like 9 months wait list, or it'll be backlogged. They won't even give them a time.
I feel like we need to put
They'll
this
just say like
into workplaces and education, so that it's easily like accessible. Because like with Brunel, so for anyone watching who goes to Brunel, you can basically go to it's called like the DBS, so I think it's called the DBS service. It's a kind of service where there's any sort of mental problems going on, any physical ones, they can offer you support with, and they can get you into counselling and therapies quite easily. So
and things like that need to be
but it's not as well known about. For me, when I first started in uni, I covered up so much that I was self-harming, that I was going through these mental health problems, because I was so worried that if university knew, they would kick me out. That was my belief. I thought they're not going to want to waste their time on someone like me. They're going to tell me I'm not mentally stable, I need to get myself together. And I didn't want to risk losing those opportunities. But as soon as I opened up, they were like, oh yeah, there's a service that we can link you to. We're here to support you. So I feel like it's having those discussions.
What I was going to say to kind of end it, this is like my ending sentence of my mum as well, when I left the house yesterday. It's not really a sentence, but I was kind of going through like the different type of coping things, so medication and different organizations and therapy. Now, this is just me personally. I'm not fully with therapy or counseling, only because I just feel like when it's like mental health issues, for somebody to kind of be paid to be there, I'm like, it's like I always kind of go back to football, because it's football. I play football for fun. I love football. If you took away the money and didn't pay me a wage, but still put me in Arsenal, I'd still play it. And I'm just saying, like, for the people, it just shows like who cares about you or who doesn't. If you put her in private but took away the P's, like, how many therapists actually turn up? So that's just like my thing about like the actual care towards the job. But what I was going to say is, I feel like my biggest thing in terms of like mental health issues is that it all starts and ends with you. So the reason why I say that is because, you can go to therapy, you can rely on your peers, you can rely on medication, but the only thing you personally can control is you, and you can control the internal.
But then can you say that about any job? Sorry to cut you off, bro.
Oh,
but like,
you
like,
say about any job, 100%.
Yeah, like if you took the money away,
I just said football for me, because but you can say that about any job. But that's like, because like for mental health, because it's like a deeper subject. That's why I said it. But the only thing you can control is you, and I say that because you know how you said you can run out of any room, you can escape all of that, but you can't escape yourself. It's the same thing. Medication can become scarce. Companies can close down. Therapists can quit. All these external factors that you're relying on or using at the time to kind of help you get through it can all go. and you have no control over whether they go or stay. But what you do have control over is yourself. Now, I don't want to say this sounding naive, and obviously people have definitely been through tougher mental health issues than me, but you know, I feel like it's a testament and a test to yourself to say to yourself, I'm gonna beat this, because like I said, like if the minute where you feel great because you've been going therapy 24s and then therapy closed down, like deep at COVID, how many people can really go out to therapy or go out and get their stuff, you know? So you know, these are the times that I'm just trying to maybe encourage people to kind of, again, not in a rude way at all, but take like proper ownership in saying that I'm gonna beat this, because it is so sad to say and sad to see so many people like lose their lives over mental health. So many people just lose their mind, and so many people just not being themselves. Like I, for one, I even just deep in now, like I went through something tough, but it wasn't me personally, but someone very close to me went through like a very mentally challenging time last year, and that nearly broke me. And it's like he has the support of us, like me, his friends and that, but if I wasn't here, like when he was going through it, I wasn't in the country. So as much like I'm screaming like I want to help, he needs to also find that strength as well. So I'm just kind of, you know, encouraging people who are dealing with whatever it is mentally, with whatever outlet you're using externally, cool, but take some ownership and really say, I'm going to beat this. And I believe you will. I believe by God, I believe by strength and will and power you will. And honestly, like with this one life that we have, just gotta fight it and get through it. And I feel like you'll realize so much more strength and power within you as a person than you knew before.
But also at the same time, there's certain things, like I completely agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, there's certain things you have to get professional help for.
No, bro, yeah, I'm not knocking it at all.
I think it's using it like alongside each other.
It needs to be a mixture of both.
With the medication thing, like just very quickly, like there's a lot of stigma around it, like, oh, but you need to come off that medication. I've had a lot of people in my life telling me, because, you know, I've been on medication since I was 17, I'm 21 now. So I've been on medication for 4 years for mental health. And it's like, I just don't feel like I'm ready to come off it. And, you know, I feel guilty about taking the medication because of people saying to me. But then someone told me recently, they were like, you wouldn't tell a diabetic to stop taking their insulin, would you?
I saw that somewhere.
But, you know, we, for some reason in society, we just treat the brain like it's a whole different organ.
Yeah. Because with mental health, people see it as, it's not something you can physically see. Yeah. It doesn't have any physical manifestations. No, so everyone just assumes like, just like shrug it off or whatever. Because like your leg's not bleeding or something stupid like that.
If you need that extra bit of, you know, for me, I have a serotonin drug, so if I need that extra level of serotonin, that's maybe what I need, you know, just as someone with, you know, diabetes needs that insulin therapy. I'm not trying to put them on the same level, but I'm just giving it's something that you need to help that organ. So now it's like trying to not let myself feel guilty. So if there's anyone out there who's taking medication and feeling guilty for it, like just don't, because the brain is an organ just like your heart, your pancreas, your liver, and if that needs medication, then perhaps maybe your brain does. It might not be for everyone. Maybe therapy's another thing, but I think the thing with therapy as well, they're not just trying to put you into therapy that you rely on therapy. They teach you in therapy how to cope with it yourself. They give you, like with my therapy, it was very goal orientated, which I liked, because it was like what you can do for yourself each week or within the few days between therapy to work on to try and improve your mental like state. So I think it's about having it alongside each other, not just relying on one thing, but
they should be combined.
Yeah, definitely. Combining different
but
things.
Maybe let me say that, but just don't forget to also like pattern you, like lean on it and lean on yourself as well. Because at the end of the day, the fight is won internally. Your brain isn't outside, as she says, the organ. So
yeah, what the brain. You're trying to say that is kind of like, let's say like if you've got like a bad habit or something that contributes to your mental state in a negative way, like you should recognize that this is something you do repeatedly and you should stop doing and try and break out of it. Or something.
It's like how, like I said, with our coping mechanisms, bro. That all is an internal thing. Like, bro, football is not. I obviously I play football to, you know, get as far as I can. But it just makes me feel good when I step on the pitch. Man. Same thing with your music, same thing with football, same thing with music. Like, it just makes us feel good. That's an internal feeling that helps. That like, when I'm not feeling good, I will literally kick up. I don't have to kick it. If I grab my ball and go to this little pitch, I'm good. Like, I just feel calm.
Some people don't see it like that though. Some people say, why is there like 15 boys just running up and down with this one stinking ball? Like,
But it's like that escape. You forget about.
It's
the same with my
like,
horses.
No one can give me.
I can't explain the feeling that when you walk onto the pitch and you play. It's a weird feeling.
100%.
And you don't think about nothing for the 90 minutes. You're just in the game. And the funny thing is, like, there'll be fights on the pitch, everything, and then see when the whistle's blown, blah blah blah, and then you walk off, and then you just feel good about yourself after the game as well. But when some people just see it,
they don't see it.
People don't. They wouldn't be able to relate to it.
But I feel like it's different. People have different things. Like, for me, I look at football, I don't disrespect what you're doing, it's great if it makes you feel that way, but football doesn't have any interest to me, just as much as horses probably don't really have any interest to you, let's not lie.
True.
But for me, it's like, we probably both experience that same feeling,
but
through different things.
Different mediums.
The feeling you get from playing football is probably the same feeling I get from riding my horses. Do you know what I mean? So it's just about finding those things as individuals, because we're all very different, to feel that happiness and to feel like at peace and forget about all the external things of the world.
I feel like there's a lot we can say on mental health, clearly, and this is just 4 people speaking kind of on their experiences, so it's safe to say that there's more that can be said. There's more experiences out there that people have that maybe want to share or need to share, or maybe just needed this to kind of have people share it for them. So I know this was a long one, but I actually do hope you got to the end of this, or you caught something from this, and you enjoyed it. And from not just this episode, but from all podcasts, from me or from other people, I just hope it raises conversations between you and like your friendship groups, your families, people close to you, even strangers. And we can make things like mental health a relevant topic 24s, not mental health week or mental health month, a relevant topic 24s, the same way Black Lives Matter, the same way COVID and all of that is given attention. We need to give attention to these things as well. So and one more thing I want to say. Which camera? That one. When people say this whole knee injury thing, it's not a joke. Like, it's a joke, but it's not a joke. I'm joking, but I'm being serious. Like, I understand when like girls, not even girls, but when everyone says, I could have been a footballer, but injured my knee. Knee injuries aren't a joke. No, people say it, and I get the joke and the banter behind it. But for the people who's dealt with knee injuries, it's not a joke.
Yeah, ACL's a different thing, fam.
And even that, again,
it's
like
real people that actually
for the real people that have So I get like it's a joke, but even me myself, I'm trying to be mindful of how I speak and what type of things I say to people and what type of jokes I bang, because for people here I can say it and we all laugh, but for someone who's really dealt with a knee injury and this career ending, you don't want to banter with them, because even that can be detrimental. You never know. But I just want to say that because I want to say that. But so thank you for you guys for coming. Thank you for sharing your experiences and being so open with it as well. It's not hard. It's not hard. It's not easy speaking on a platform like YouTube, whether someone has 1 subscriber or 1 million. It's not hard. It's not easy speaking on your experiences and putting yourself out there. So I thank you guys for doing that on my platform. God bless you guys.
You too.
And hopefully one time, like the next time, if we have like another conversation, we can all be in a lot greater and bigger positions in life, and we can talk about how we've all just improved.
God willing.
So thank you guys, and thank you for watching, and wait for the next one.